It's Star Trek. I love it, it's important to me, but it's still a TV show. What is there to get?
Over the decades, Star Trek had become more than just a TV show. It's a cultural phenomenon. But behind the scenes, the final frontier wasn't always smooth sailing. Some actors walked away, others were pushed, and a few disappeared without a word. Was it drama, creative clashes, or something far more personal? Join us in this video as we dive deep into the real reasons why these beloved actors left Star Trek, and what really happened when the cameras stopped rolling. You might be surprised who, and why. Before Captain Kirk became a household name, the original captain of the Starship Enterprise was someone very different. Christopher Pike, portrayed by actor Jeffrey Hunter. Pike's command was featured in Star Trek's very first pilot, The Cage, a more thoughtful and philosophical take on space exploration. However, NBC found the episode too cerebral and passed on it. Still, they saw potential and gave creator Gene Roddenberry a rare second chance to rework the series. But by then, Jeffrey Hunter had already made up his mind. He decided not to return for the retooled version of the show, for reasons that remain a mix of speculation, ranging from scheduling conflicts to a lack of interest in committing to a TV series. As a result, the role of the Enterprise captain went to William Shatner, who became the now iconic Captain James T. Kirk. Hunter's departure might have ended there, but it didn't. When the production fell behind schedule during the first season, footage from The Cage was cleverly repurposed into the two-part episode The Menagerie. This move not only saved time, but also introduced Captain Pike into Star Trek lore as Kirk's mysterious predecessor. What started as a behind-the-scenes workaround eventually laid the foundation for one of the franchise's most compelling legacy characters. Decades later, Pike would return in a big way, this time played by Anson Mount in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. So, although Jeffrey Hunter walked away before Star Trek even officially launched, his brief role sparked a legacy that's still unfolding more than 50 years later. One captain left quietly, another crew member left loudly. But why? Keep watching to find out. Denise Crosby first appeared in Star Trek. The Next Generation as Lieutenant Tasha Yar, the Enterprise DS fierce and capable chief of security. But behind the scenes, Crosby sensed something was lacking. Despite the promising role, Tasha frequently faded into the background, her talent hampered by poor scripting and insufficient screen time. Crosby, disgruntled and underutilized, made a daring choice to depart the series during its first season. Rather than gently writing her out, creator Gene Roddenberry decided to make her leaving memorable. Tasha was abruptly and unexpectedly killed off in episode 23, Skin of Evil, leaving fans astonished and solidifying her exit as one of the season's most talked-about moments. However, Denise Crosby's Star Trek voyage did not finish there. She later returned to the show, not just in flashbacks and alternate realities, but also as a daring new character she helped develop, Sailor, Tasha Yar's half-Romulan daughter. Sailor developed into a crafty nemesis, giving Crosby the complex, dynamic role she had long desired. As a political counterpart to Captain Picard, she finally had the opportunity to leave a lasting impression on the franchise, proving that even after her departure, she was never truly gone. So what could have been the reason the next actor on the list left the show? Let's find out. Will Wheaton stepped into the spotlight early as Wesley Crusher, the prodigy son of Dr. Beverly Crusher, on Star Trek: The Next Generation. But while Gates McFadden's absence in Season 2 triggered a passionate fan campaign for her return, Wesley didn't enjoy the same warmth. Despite Wheaton's success in Stand By Me, his time on TNG stalled his Hollywood momentum. When Wheaton landed a role in the film Valmorn, he requested time off from the series. But the production team turned him down, insisting the episode he would miss was vital for Wesley's storyline. Trusting them, Wheaton declined the film, only to discover that the script had been rewritten to cut his character entirely. He saw it as a slap in the face and a sign that his contributions weren't valued. This tension behind the scenes eventually pushed Wheaton to walk away in search of more fulfilling roles. But his story didn't end there. Wesley Crusher later returned, portrayed as a conflicted Starfleet cadet before joining the Mysterious Travelers, a fittingly unusual path for one of Star Trek's most debated characters. Though Wheaton left the main cast, his bond with the franchise endured. He now hosts the Ready Room, the official aftershow for modern Star Trek series, and remains a beloved voice in the Trek community. His journey reminds us that in Star Trek, leaving doesn't always mean you're gone for good. Michelle Forbes left a significant impression on Star Trek. The Next Generation as Ensign Ro Laren, a tough and complex Bajoran officer who debuted in Season 5. Her character laid the foundation for a significant storyline in the Star Trek universe, the Cardassian takeover of Bajor. That plot will become central to the next Star Trek series, Deep Space Nine, and producers had big plans for Ro, hoping she would serve as a Bajoran second-in-command aboard the space station. But Forbes had other ambitions. She turned down the opportunity to join DS9, choosing instead to pursue a film career. Her decision reportedly damaged her connection with the TNG production team and nearly resulted in her character not receiving a dignified farewell. Luckily, fate and scheduling conflicts intervened. During Season 7, the series fell behind on episodes, prompting the revival of a previously shelved script. That episode, Preemptive Strike, gave Ro Laren a stunning send-off as she chose to defy Starfleet and join the Maquis. It was a daring and poignant end to her narrative, and one of the most memorable character exits in Star Trek history. Despite missing out on DS9, Forbes had a successful TV career, including roles in 24, Battlestar Galactica, and True Blood. Her time in Starfleet was brief, but Ro Laren's influence and Forbes' performance left a lasting mark on the franchise. Terry Farrell's departure from Star Trek, Deep Space Nine was one of the most emotional goodbyes in the franchise, but it didn't have to be. Farrell played Jadzia Dax, a fan-favorite character whose blend of wisdom and strength helped define DS9's tone. But behind the scenes, the situation was more complicated. As her contract came up for renewal after Season 6, Farrell felt the weight of the grueling shooting schedule and asked for a reduced role in the show's final season. Instead of compromise, she says she was met with resistance, particularly from producer Rick Berman and Paramount executives. In later interviews and in the documentary What We Left Behind, Farrell claimed she felt bullied into returning full-time and ultimately chose to leave when her request was denied. Berman denied any wrongdoing, but the fallout was clear. Showrunner IRA Stephen Bear, unaware of the behind-the-scenes tension, was left with no choice but to write off Jadzia Dax. Ironically, Farrell later landed a lead role in the sitcom Becca, produced by the same Paramount executives who wouldn't accommodate her on Star Trek. Despite the bitterness, fans continue to celebrate Jadzia as one of DS9's most beloved characters. Farrell's story remains a powerful reminder of how off-screen tensions can reshape on-screen legacies. Finally, fans were stunned when Dr. Beverly Crusher vanished from Star Trek, The Next Generation, after just one season. Gates McFadden brought warmth and sophistication to the role, grounding the emotional core of the show, especially as Wesley's mother. Her sudden departure felt off, especially since Wesley remained aboard the Enterprise. Rumors swirled of behind-the-scenes conflict, particularly with head writer Maurice Hurley. Years later, McFadden candidly spoke about that time in an interview with Michael Rosenbaum. When asked if her relationship with Hurley played a role in her exit, she admitted, "I think I definitely pissed him off." She criticized the early scripts for their outdated views on women and the portrayal of her relationship with Wesley. "I kept saying, why is it that I've raised this genius kid, and yet every time there's anything serious, it's only the male characters who talk to him. She's a scientist. I'm not buying this." Her exit shocked fans and castmates alike. Her replacement, Dr. Pulaski, struggled to gain acceptance. Fortunately, fan outcry helped bring McFadden back in Season 3, and she remained through the series' end, also appearing in the TNG films and Star Trek, Picard. Her return was more than a casting change. It was a welcome correction fans embraced. When Gates McFadden was abruptly forced out of Star Trek, The Next Generation after Season 1, the show's producers didn't simply recast Dr. Beverly Crusher, they replaced her entirely. Enter Diana Muldaur, a familiar face in the Star Trek universe who had previously appeared in the original series and starred in Gene Roddenberry's telefilm Planet Earth. Roddenberry personally brought her on board to play Dr. Catherine Pulaski in Season 2. Despite her talent and experience, the transition was far from smooth. Muldaur was stepping into a tight-knit cast that still felt loyal to McFadden, and according to rumors, she wasn't exactly welcomed with open arms. Pulaski brought a more direct, old-school style to the sickbay, but a cool and dismissive attitude toward Data irritated many fans. While Pulaski was meant to be a different kind of doctor, less warm and more pragmatic, viewers missed Crusher's empathy. As for why Mulder left after just one season, the details remain vague. She later cited a scheduling conflict with a McCloud reunion telefilm at the start of TNG's third season. By that time, her involvement had run its course. What began as a favor to Roddenberry lost momentum as his influence on TNG declined. Mulder didn't look back. She moved on to a major role in L.A. Law, where she played Rosalind Shays, a character who made one of the most unforgettable exits in television history. Her time on TNG was brief, but it was another bold chapter in a career full of surprises. Genevieve Bugel's short-lived role as the original captain of Star Trek. Voyager is one of the franchise's most intriguing casting stories. A respected film actress known for her emotional range, Bugel was initially chosen to play Captain Nicole Janeway. However, just a few days into filming the pilot, it became clear that she wasn't the right fit. From the beginning, there was creative tension. Bugel envisioned Janeway as a cerebral scientist, while producers needed a commanding Starfleet leader. On top of that, the demanding pace of television production, long hours, quick turnarounds, and dense technical dialogue overwhelmed her. Before the first week was over, Bugel bowed out, admitting she simply wasn't suited for part. While her sudden exit may have delayed Voyager's launch, it ultimately worked in the show's favor. The role quickly went to Kate Mulgrew, who had previously auditioned. With her commanding presence and grounded performance, Mulgrew redefined the character, now known as Catherine Janeway, and became one of the most iconic captains in Star Trek history. Bugel's departure is a reminder that not every role fits, even for seasoned actors, and it highlights just how demanding the Star Trek universe can be, especially for those leading the charge into the final frontier. During the uncertain 1970s, Paramount explored multiple attempts to revive Star Trek, including a promising new series titled Star Trek, Phase 2. Designed to reunite the original cast, minus Leonard Nimoy, this series introduced new characters to fill the void. Among them was Lieutenant Ilia, a mysterious Deltan navigator with empathic abilities and sharp mathematical skills. To portray Ilia, producers cast Persis Khambatta, a former Miss India and a rising talent in Hollywood. Multiple episodes were written with her in mind, including one titled The Child, which would later be reworked for the next generation. However, just as production was set to begin, the network pulled the plug. Paramount reproposed a 2-hour pilot into Star Trek, the motion picture. Nimoy returned as Spock, and while Ilia and Decker were retained, their roles were reduced to stepping stones in a story that ultimately centered on Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Though Khambatta's appearance was brief, it was memorable. According to Sherilyn Connolly's biography presenting Persis Khambatta, the actress wasn't crushed by the experience. The grueling filming schedule and Hollywood's obsession with her shaved head overshadowed her acting abilities. While she never returned to Star Trek, her portrayal of Ilia remains one of the franchise's early attempts to showcase a truly alien female lead, unique, dignified, and unforgettable. Grace Lee Whitney's exit from Star Trek remains one of the series' most heartbreaking untold stories. Cast as Yeoman Janice Rand, Whitney's poised and capable character was abruptly written out after only a few episodes. In her memoir The Longest Trek, My Tour of the Galaxy, she revealed that her departure wasn't just creative, it was deeply personal. Whitney disclosed that she had been sexually assaulted by someone she referred to only as the executive at Desilu Studios. She believed she was removed from the show because her continued presence reminded her attacker of what had happened. Officially, the reason was budgetary. Casting memos from August 1966 already suggested her character might be cut due to high pay and limited screen time. Gene Roddenberry would later express regret over losing her, even considering bringing her back in a guest role, though it never materialized. Years later, Whitney returned to the franchise with grace, appearing in Star Trek, the motion picture and several of the subsequent films, and again in Voyager's flashback. Whitney passed away in 2015, having made peace with her journey. As she once said in a 2012 conversation, she found closure. It was a quiet, dignified ending to a painful chapter that deserved far more justice. Kirstie Alley's portrayal of Saavik in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, was unforgettable, and many fans expected her return in subsequent films. However, Alley never came back, and according to William Shatner's memoir Star Trek Movie Memories, the reason was simple: money. Shatner wrote that Paramount lowballed Alley's offer for the sequel. Ali herself confirmed this, saying the offer was even lower than what she'd been paid for her first film, and it felt like a clear signal she wasn't truly wanted. Leonard Nimoy, who directed Star Trek III, confirmed this view, noting that while the studio was willing to double her salary, it still wasn't enough to keep her. With Ali gone, Robin Curtis stepped in as Saavik for Star Trek III and IV, delivering what Shatner called a solid performance in a rather thankless role. Still, many fans never fully accepted the switch, always remembering Ali's cool, composed Vulcan portrayal. Ironically, Ali would later replace Shelley Long on Cheers, another passing of the torch, but one that left Star Trek fans wondering what might have been if Saavik had remained part of the journey. Jennifer Lin's departure from Star Trek Voyager after 3 seasons raised eyebrows, especially given how central her character, Kuz, was to the show's premise. When Voyager premiered in 1995, it boldly introduced a crew stranded in the Delta Quadrant, far from Starfleet. Kuz, a young Ocampa with a short lifespan and powerful telepathic abilities, offered unique narrative possibilities. Early on, she had a romantic arc with Neelix and was poised to evolve into a major force. However, despite her potential, Kuz never quite resonated with audiences. Like Wesley Crusher before her, she embodied the archetype of the youthful genius, but without the same level of controversy or backlash. Still, her role began to feel peripheral, and creative momentum around her character waned. As the series moved into later seasons, producers decided to shift focus and brought in a new character, Seven of Nine, to shake things up. Lynn was written out, with Kuz given a farewell arc that saw her evolve into a being of immense power. Though her time on Voyager was short, Lynn's portrayal of Kuz remains a part of Star Trek's legacy, a quiet exit for a character who never got the story arc she truly deserved. Kuz wasn't among the more beloved characters on Star Trek, Voyager, and that lack of popularity eventually caught up with the writers. In the Season 4 episode The Gift, Kuz's rapidly growing psychic abilities spiral out of control after an encounter with Species 8472. Realizing she has become a danger to the people she loves, she chooses to leave Voyager, transforming into a being of pure energy and disappearing into the galaxy. It was a poignant and emotional farewell, leaving her ultimate fate unknown. However, her exit wasn't only a matter of storyline. Behind the scenes, several factors contributed to Jennifer Lin's departure. Showrunners Rick Berman and Jerry Taylor later admitted that the Neelix-Kuz romance was a misstep, and that despite Lin's considerable talent, the writers had hit a creative wall. The Ocampa species' short 9U lifespan also restricted long-term plot development, making it increasingly difficult to include Kuz in future story arcs. Even so, Lin's performance was widely praised by both fans and her fellow cast members. Many believed it was a writing, not a portrayal, that failed the character. Her departure made room for the introduction of Seven of Nine, played by Jerry Ryan, a character whose arrival dramatically shifted the series' tone and improved ratings. Though Kuz did not enjoy the enduring popularity of other Star Trek characters, her departure remains one of the most touching moments in Voyager history, a reminder that even promising roles can fade if the creative stars don't align. While many actors chose to step away from Star Trek or were written out, one never had the chance. Anton Yelchin, the talented young actor who played Pavel Chekhov in the rebooted Star Trek films, tragically died in June 2016 at the age of 27. His sudden death shocked Hollywood and devastated the Star Trek community. The accident happened at his Los Angeles home in the early hours of the morning. After exiting his 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee, the vehicle unexpectedly rolled down his steep driveway, pinning him against a brick mailbox pillar and a security gate. Friends who arrived when he didn't show up for rehearsal made the heartbreaking discovery. The coroner ruled the cause of death as blunt traumatic asphyxia, and the lab deemed it a tragic accident. At the time of his death, Yelchin had just finished filming Star Trek Beyond, the third installment in the reboot series. His portrayal of Chekhov, originally made famous by Walter Koenig, was celebrated for its charm, wit, and sincerity. Director Justin Lin expressed his sorrow, saying, "Still in shock. Rest in peace. Anton, your passion and enthusiasm will live on with everyone who had the pleasure of knowing you." Tributes poured in from across the industry. J.J. Abrams wrote, "You were kind, you were funny as hell and supremely talented, and you weren't here nearly long enough." Co-star John Cho said, "I loved Anton Yelchin so much. He was a true artist, curious, beautiful, courageous, I'm in ruins. Even William Shatner mourned the loss of such a talented young man. It was later revealed that the Jeep model involved had been under investigation due to a problematic electronic shifter that confused drivers about whether the vehicle was actually in park. Though no direct link was confirmed in Yelchin's case, the tragedy prompted further scrutiny of the vehicle's design. Jodie Foster, who directed Yelchin in The Beaver, described him as a rare and beautiful soul with an unstoppable passion for life. Anton Yelchin's death was not just the loss of a gifted actor, it marked the end of a brilliant, curious spirit whose potential seemed boundless. His performance as Chekhov remains a moving tribute to what he brought to Star Trek and what the world lost far too soon. Star Trek is far more than a television show. It's a cultural phenomenon that has grown far beyond its 1960s origins. Created by Gene Roddenberry, it began as a single series and evolved into one of the most enduring and profitable media empires in history. Its influence now spans television, cinema, books, comics, video games, and even language, shaping generations of fans and altering the landscape of science fiction and pop culture. The original Star Trek debuted in Canada on September 6, 1966, followed by a U.S. premiere on NBC. Set in the 23rd century, it followed the voyages of the USS Enterprise as it explored new worlds and civilizations. Roddenberry drew inspiration from Horatio Hornblower, Gulliver's Travels, Forbidden Planet, and classic TV westerns like Wagon Train, blending space adventure with philosophical commentary on the human condition. Though the series was canceled after just 3 seasons, it refused to fade. It was revived as an animated series and then 6 feature films that reunited the original cast. In the late 1980s, The Next Generation launched, set a century later, and sparked a new era of series, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, and 4 TNG-based feature films. In 2009, J.J. Abrams rebooted the franchise with a new timeline, the Kelvin Timeline, introducing new versions of classic characters in 3 successful films. Yet Star Trek's legacy didn't stop there. Beginning in 2017, the franchise returned to TV with Discovery, Picard, Short Treks, Lower Decks, Prodigy, and Strange New Worlds, reaching new audiences through streaming platforms. But Star Trek is more than a franchise, it's a global community. Fans, affectionately known as Trekkies or Trekkers, have kept the spirit alive through conventions, collectibles, fan productions, and cultural celebrations. From decade-long Vegas attractions to museum exhibitions, the influence is everywhere. Even the Klingon language, invented for the series, has been studied and spoken worldwide. Above all, Star Trek has always been a symbol of hope and inclusivity. With one of television's first interracial casts and progressive storylines, it mirrored the ideals of the civil rights movement and offered a vision of a united, enlightened future. That message of optimism and imagination continues to inspire fans across the globe, proving that Star Trek is not just entertainment. It's a vision of what humanity can become. So, what are your thoughts on these actors and the real reasons behind their exits from Star Trek? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it insightful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to explore more untold celebrity stories. See you there.